recently asked if the SpheroPlane could be used to produce an egg shape, and as you can see, I've managed to do it. The process involved creating a small sphere and a large sphere and then blending them together. I acknowledge that it's a lot easier to do something like this on a lathe. However, if you don't happen to have one, you certainly can do it with the SpheroPlane. I would say though that this is not a project for a novice. I've practiced doing spheres and bowls before I attempt something like this. It does require a little bit more argy-bargy to get a nice curve and blend those two together. But it certainly can be done. And seeing as it's so close to Easter, I made the egg shape into an Easter egg. I have noticed that when a log is longer than it is wide, when you round off the top and the bottom, you end up with a kind of an egg shape. Just a sphere on one side and a sphere on the other and then straight in between. But obviously what we really want is it to be narrow at one end to form a proper egg shape. So I figured that I could possibly do it by creating a cone shape first and then putting the sphere on the top and the bottom. So what I've done is I've drawn a circle on the top here, which is considerably smaller. I've just chosen a random diameter and a larger diameter on the bottom, and I will plane the sides until I get a cone, and then I will use the SpheroPlane to carve, I hope, an egg shape. Okay, so obviously I can keep using this to plane it down, but I can see it's going to take a little while. I might move to the power unit with the leveling guide, which will probably give a better and much faster action. Quick with the SpheroPlane and the leveling guide. I really like that, and I've got it set, and so I'm actually putting a nice curve on there as I'm doing it. It's just the adjustment on this is very similar to the SpheroPlane in that you can do very shallow spheres with it. It's rounding that out, and when I get it down to a small, then I'll just add the curve that I can get with the SpheroPlane to the top and the bottom. I think it's going to work well. I decided to look up on Google to see what the proper geometry of an egg is, and found that I'm on the right track. Basically, it showed a cone type situation where you put an arc in there and an arc in there, and then some kind of parabolic join there. So what I realized is that I needed to go much smaller at the pointy end to get a decent egg shape. So I've reduced it down to a sort of a cone shape like this. This is quite nicely rounded, which just happened to be the result of me using the leveling guide, and it's quite a natural curve. So I might try to just now join a nice arc in here and then a similar one on the bottom, and I should have it. All right, I'll just set that to where I think it's just catching that lip, and then I'll try rounding it. I should just point out that this is not a nice parallel surface to the bottom, so it's higher on one end, so I'm taking one end off first so that I get the round, the spherical part in the center. So this end coming off a bit before the other. A nice dome on the top, but now looking at it, I can see it's going to be way too big and round. So I'm going to have to reduce it down. I want a smaller, a tighter dome on the top. So to do that, I shall put more circles on it to follow, just to give me a guide. So again, I've got to take those sides down even further. I'm a little bit surprised just how pointy I have to get it to get a nice arc in there, so I've reduced it down now. I'll try doing a dome again and see how that looks with the potential egg. So here, I don't know whether you can see how smooth it is. Even there where the crack is very smooth. So the beauty of that is you don't have to do very much sanding at all. When you put the sanding disc onto the same tool, it just follows that profile and finishes it very, very quickly. So I've placed it in a very heavy metal ring that you have down there. You can see it's a waste product from a machine that we've been building in our engineering department, and for some reason they don't need this. So it's just a handy size for me, but you could use a wooden rig that you could cut out on a bandsaw, or any kind of a bucket or something like that to hold it steady. The weight of this is quite substantial. It's very, very firm, so no problems. Now I've got quite a bit of material to remove here to get the nice arc, and I can use this and just go around and build that arc like I do when I'm doing bowls and things like that. But I just happen to have the SpheroPlane here on the power carving unit, which gives me great control, and it's a much bigger blade, so I might use that to just quickly rough out the shape. Then I'll return to the SpheroPlane to get my nice spherical end. Okay, I've got a kind of a hot air balloon shape here. I've got all these circles on the top here, which I use to guide myself. It's kind of rough. It doesn't really need to be any particular shape, but I've just made it a bit easier for myself. Now, if I go over the SpheroPlane and I start to create a sphere, at first the sphere will be too large, but then I'll bring it down and keep bringing it down until I've got a nice blend of the two shapes. So I'll now start doing the spherical shape on the top. And what I'll do is I'll do it quite flat at first, so I'll get a bit of a curve which will make a ring around here, and then I'll gradually make it steeper and steeper until I'm blended. What I'm doing too is I've got it set. I don't know what angle I'm going to get or what size sphere I'm going to get. I adjust it, and then as I go over, it starts to cut. And if I come from the top, it'll start to set the angle. If I come from down here, it'll just take more material off. But if I go from the top and work around, it'll always give me whatever angle is set up here. So I can start to see the shape of the sphere that I'm trying to produce, which at the moment will be way too large, but that's okay to start. So it's not a bad egg shape now. Could be better. I'm not too happy with the straighter edges here, but what I found is that if I flatten the tool out, I can even out that so that I can get more of a compound curve there. However, the cutter's a bit aggressive for that, so I'm going to move now to the sanding disc. I'll use a coarse sanding disc, and I'll be able to maybe smooth that out and blend it a bit nicer to get a bit more of an eggy shape there. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with that. Well, I've run out of 2-inch discs for my SpheroPlane, and quite frankly, I'm finding that it's a little bit too slow for blending that. So I'm now going to switch to my power unit with a leveling guide, which is a bit faster because I can work on the edge of it and blend this very nicely. So I'll use this from now on just to bring those two spheres together, and then I'll sand the whole thing up and see how it goes. So I just used the big sander to just get rid of that sharp line where the tangent of the small sphere and the big sphere meet. So I just rounded that off a little bit, and I think it looks a lot better now. Not too bad. So what I'm going to do now is fill all these cracks with a mixture of epoxy and sawdust. heavy. I'm going to have to make a really big egg cup.